Learning a block Gemara. Today we're finishing a Seichas Umnin. Today's daf is daf Pei Gimel, and we are up to the Gemara over here about people who were transporting barrels of wine. And according to the mayor, made a special takana that even though they might have been responsible and possibly even negligent, we're going to say that you just swear you were negligent, and we're going to accept it because well, because otherwise nobody's going to want to help other people out. Says the Gemara, we're about 8 or 9 lines into the wide lines, and Pegimel Amid Aleph. What's on top of the right on the left side? What is that?
By the time you finish, he'll be done.
Gavra, only the blue tags. Oh. Gavra, there was this person. This person was transporting a barrel of wine, the beristika, the mechuzah, and was bringing it through the streets of mechuzah. But tabla bezizah, the mechuzah was something sticking out of the wall or something, and they poked the barrel and broke it. Also, he went to Rav and asked him, "Was it then amle beristika, the mechuzah, shchicha ba'incha?" Tak, it's an accent, but we learned before. Isa ben said that if there were witnesses available, you should go get the witnesses. And it's not only a din of shemim, even though the pasuk bring a shemim, it's all cases. Zilai said, I bring a proof if the pasuk. His son said, "Keman ki isay." I'm like, yes, ki isay. We're passing like him, but not only by shemim, but anywhere where if you can bring evidence that what happened, we're not going to rely on the shua. Go ahead and buy me 400 barrels of wine. Also, Zovelay, he went and bought it. The save us the Kameh. What happened was it all turned sour. We came before the Torah. You bought me 400 barrels of wine and they were sour. And he was being accused of buying the Chatchila, bad, poor wine, and the reimbursement. Also, so Rabbi said, 1 second, if it's not 1 or 2 barrels, it's about 400 barrels, they all turned sour, people would have known about it. Other would have tried it, talk would have been out there. Bring a raya that there was nothing wrong with the wine. 400 barrels means a lot of people probably looked at it. There's a wholesaler. Then no, we're not going to rely on the shoe in this case. I'm sure people would be aware. Go find a. Like Isi, same idea. We pass like him even beyond Shaman. Yosef made a takana in the city of Sichra as follows. If people, let's say, want to carry a barrel, so they put on their shoulders, they put like, I don't know what it's called. They would have like 2 pieces of wood on both sides of the shoulder, and in between they would put a barrel. That's how they would carry it. They would carry, the hands would hold up these poles, and between the poles was this barrel. Now the case, like a stretcher, but you would hold it on the shoulder, and even one person is able to do it. You can have 2 people, then you have 2 more barrels, or single barrel, maybe one person does. So he made a takana in the city of Sichra. That if somebody carries over here on the shoulder and he carries a heavy load, that's how they carry heavy loads. You see all these people in Asia, they carry on the heads all these heavy loads, just on the shoulder. The eat but it broke, Nishal and Palga, you pay half. In other words, what happened here was he carry a barrel, it was a bit heavier than a normal person can carry, but it's not a sufficient weight that you need 2 people to carry. Only one person, so one person carries, you sort of need 1.5 people. So he took it upon himself to carry it, and it broke. You pay. So it's a question of who's responsible in this case, because the guy gave it to him, and so we do half and half. Says my time enough for zechad. Let's say it was more than one person's load, but it's less than 2 people's load. Part of la'oin is v'kar l'pshia. Sort of the interesting expression. One incident that, on the one hand, it's almost like an accident. On the other hand, it's almost like negligence. You took it on yourself. On the other hand, it fell by itself. But if you took, let's say, something heavy, then mishalim kula. But if, let's say, something that you should have carried really 2 people, and you took it upon yourself, you put your neck in between it, so maybe you have a barrel in front and a barrel behind, and that's how you carried it. Then you are responsible. Now here's a story we once discussed a while ago. based on the places. And the Rabba Barachanan Tovrle Hanish Kuloy Chavisa the Chamra. What happened was he hired people to transport the barrels of wine, and they broke it. He took their shirt and he says, reimburse me for the wine that you broke. Also, they went. I told Rabba didn't tell you the story. He turned around to Rabba and he said to Rabba Baruch go ahead and return, give back the shirt. He said, Rabba Baruch give him back the shirt. That's a din? Yes. In other words, this is a din, and you, as a Talmid Chacham, have to do it. Yo, the Gemara gave him back the shirt. Then they turn around and hear the chutzpah. We're poor. Not only we broke your barrel, we want to get paid. It took us a day to bring it here. Give us our wage. But we worked all day. The kafina were hungry. Less lamidi, and we have nothing to show for it. So Rab Paskin to Rab, I'm going to pay them. I'm like, Hachi. I'm like, in the Urchat Tzadikim Tishma, the ways of Tzadikim should guard. Now, we had the Flammable base that why the base of Midrash was destroyed was what's Rabba Kedim asking? Dina Hachi. That's the problem. That people walk around and say, show me what's the Shekhanah. I'm not interested. What do you mean? You have Lifnim Ashur Sadin, and we learned before, so what's the Rabba's discussion here? I didn't see anybody asking the question, but the Pshat is, I remember I told you Tosfos and the Rishonim have 3 degrees of Lifnim Ashur Sadin. 1 degree Lifnim Ashur Sadin is where everyone else is chayiv, you're potter. You find a lost object, and it's a pasnish, for an old person, but everyone else is chayiv. So then we say Lifnim Ashur Sadin. That's a very strong Lifnim Ashur Sadin that really you have to do it because everyone else is chayiv, even though you have an exemption. Don't use that exemption. Just like we had yesterday about tzedakah. Oishim the mitzvah. Rabbi says you're not going to take that exemption. Then there's a high degree of Lifnim Ashur Sadin, and the highest where no one is chayiv, and the highest is where not only no one is chayiv, but you had a loss. That's the story right here. He had a loss and he has to pay. So Mela, when the Gemara says midu that the only because we're talking about the lowest level of Lifnim Ashur Sadin, or maybe even the middle level. But the highest level for sure, that's not what he's saying. And that's what the Rabbi is saying here. The Rabbi is saying, if I want to do Lifnim Ashur Sadin, it's my cheshbon. You can't paskin that I have to do Lifnim Ashur Sadin. The first part was level number 2, it was like an accident fell down. The third part, where we had to pay them you have to pay them the wages, that is unheard of. And yet Rab said, with a Talmid Chacham, yes, we can force you. So that was the discussion here. That's exactly right. If you want to be a mensch, it's up to me. Exactly. You can't possibly be a mensch. I'm saying so. A business should tell me to go beyond, be machmer.
I'm trying to remember the quote. It's most of it. It's very careful about their money.
No, Tzadikim also. Yeah, I'll goof them. If we have a chulim, we'll have a chulim upside down. Chavim lehem amaynu yosem agufim.
I'm worried about my money.
Had na lach asayches umin. Okay, next we pay the asayches umin. Asayches that's a payling. Somebody hires. We finish umin. Somebody hires workers. He said to them, "Lahashkel harim. I want you guys to get it first thing in the morning. Start working. Now remember, there's Atbuda Shacha and there's Neitzer Chama. We'll see what we're talking about. And I want you to remain till dark. The meaning is they don't start that early. You're not allowed to force them. You're not allowed to force them to do things. So let's say in Australia they want to bring in soon a 4-day work week. You can't force them to do more than that. The meaning is that you give them lunch, you have to feed them. You have to have coffee and sweets in the office, then you have to do that. You got to follow the when you hire somebody, even though we didn't make up beforehand, if that's what the minhag is, they have the right to assume that that's what you are going to provide for them. Go out there and hire workers. He went to the workers and said, we're going to feed you guys. And he made up with them, openly, we're going to feed you. He told his father the arrangement he made. Even if you make it like the Suda of Shleim in his time, in his heyday. Now, why make Kishaita? Because we're going to learn in Moshe Sanhedrin, if he was a melech, he was a king, then Hedjit, he lost his kingdom in the story in Gittim, he had an Ashbadai, and there's a machlekes if he became a king again or not. So when we say Beshaita, means not when he was a Hedjit, but when he was heyday. Remember, he had 180,000 soldiers there that he fed. You know why? Shlomo was feeding these soldiers over there. They had all kinds of soldiers. Here is Bnei Yaakov. There's no limit. In Shabbos, we had it. Shimon said, "We're Bnei Malachim." You know, we're royalty. How in the world do you provide for royalty? Here we say Bnei Yaakov. And so what? And we'll see the Gemara later. Avram's meal was greater than Shlomo Melech's meal. But he gave a cow for each malach. So he was very, very generous. Ella actually is cold man that didn't start working. Say, tell them, your word, they might have misinterpreted your word. It's only a word. So a word is nicht gefällig. But once it started working, it's like a kinyan, and that's it. You can't change your mind, and you'll never satisfy your what you made up then. He didn't say anything. You just said, how come why tell them if the minimum dinner is to feed them? Just say nothing, and they know they'll get fed. Don't get in trouble in the first place. Says Pshita, isn't that obvious that if the meaning of it is a certain way, you can't change it? Like the top guy, you pay them extra. You pay them extra. Now we're not talking about here. If you made up for them to work, let's say night shift, you can't say, oh, but the meaning is to work day by day. If we made up, we made up. We're talking about you didn't say anything. Can you then come down with kindness? Even though we didn't make anything up, I want you to start working on Buddha Shachar. Listen, the meaning of it is I want you Buddha Shachar. So the Mishnah says you can. You go Mingam dinner. If that's the meaning of a dinner, what right do I have to ask you to work extra? Says the Gemara, you know what we're talking about here? And this is the big problem they have. They're saying a lot of people work overtime, they don't get paid for it. And the meaning of a dinner is to work 8-hour days, let's say. And then that's it. You can't force them at all. And that's the law that to work more than that. The Tafel Agrai, he paid them over and above the ward rate. So he tells them, you know why I paid you above the award rate? Agraichu. You know why I paid more than normal rate? Because I extended you to come early in the morning and stay a bit later in the day and don't run away at 5 o'clock. If you're middle of your work, finish the job. Kamashlan, you can't say Kudomla. They'll say, you know why you gave us more? Hi, the Tafilon, you gave us more because we thought you'll get better out of us. So the big machlek nachrenim, what happens their work is no better than the average worker there. Can you claim back some of that money? Because your time is that you thought the reason you gave money is you'll work harder, but you're not working harder. So give me back my money or not. Because he didn't specify what kind of work he wants for them, harder or better. They say we thought we're working better. Lakish says, the big machlek is showing how to but Rashi and Tesis and others as follows. Because the word bichnasa, you would think you start the day of bichnisasa means when you get into work, and b'tziyasa means when you leave work. But here actually bichnisasa, way Rashi and Tesis and others learn is when you come home. Bichnisasa, when you come home, mishaloi, it's on your own cheshbon. No, you got to work till Tesis Chavim. Till the stars come out, and then you walk home in the dark. How in the world did they walk home? They must have had lanterns or something to walk home. Okay, but what do you do in the beginning of the month and the end of the month? Okay, and b'yitziyasai, when you leave your house to go to work, Mishab Balabais. And Taisha explains very nicely. When I'm going in the morning to work, I'm going to the Balabas. He benefits from what I'm doing, so therefore it should be in his time. So let's say if I start my job next to Chama, I leave my house next to Chama. It takes a half an hour to get there, so I come a half an hour too late. It's not late to work. That's my time. But when I leave work to go home, I'm who benefits from that? The only one who benefits is me. So it's on my cheshbon. That's how Rashi works. Now, Ben Chanan learns the other way around. Ben Chanan learns and partially practical. If you're going to leave after it says it's pitch black, and what do you do at the beginning or the end of the month? So it means you should be home by Tzedek Chacham. So you leave a half an hour before on the Balbos's Cheshbon. In the morning, even before Netzach Chama, it's already there's light outside, you can walk. So therefore, in the morning, it's on your time. Anyway, Shlemba, it says, Tizach Hashem when the sun comes out, all the animals gather together, but when they all go to their habitats, wherever that is, and then a person goes out to his work, so he works till when? Till night, till the stars come out. But what do you give me rules for? to see whether it's the balabas's time or the owner's time or the worker's time. Look at the minhag. We just said hakol minhag. A new city, brand new city, no minhag. Let's see where the people who live in the city, where do they come from? What were they minhag? Then it could tell you. You know the famous story about the shul when you stand up by a certain area. Exactly. Argue. That's the wow minhag. So my answer is people from all over the place. It's a melting pot, and therefore some people have like this, some people like this. So you can't sort it out. Or I want to know where the Titus law is. That's how we should be. That's what we should hire. So we learn from here. The apostle learned from here that if you come to a place and there's no particular meaning, you should continue the meaning where you come from. You can't say I'm in a new city. I'll start my new minhag. It's clear right here. Look at where it came from. In the beginning of that very same pasuk, it says, you place the darkness, and then all that crawl around. The Hilaila and night, and all the animals crawl around at night. That's where they go around wantonly. It's an allegory. This whole pasuk. We're talking about this world. It's compared to the dark. And boy, Golis, boy, Timmers, all the Rishonim, they wander about as if they're free and they're having a good time. They wander around freely. When the sun shines, they should get talking about freedom. In this week's parsha, Rashi says from Erchin, what's the definition of freedom? What's freedom? Freedom is you can live wherever you want. So I always thought Israel was the only place in the world, in the Western world, it's not a free country because they don't let you live in buy houses in the old city and all kinds of problems there, or in certain areas where Arabs live, they don't let you buy houses there. So it's not a free city, free country. Which other countries are law that you can't buy houses in this particular region because it's a different group of people living there. And the sun will shine you guys together. So they'll go back to the habitats. That's where they're lying around. So by tzaddikim, the sun will shine. And safe and who will gather together to show him at the same time. The Shem will go to Gehenna. So then they'll have their own habitats. Every single tzaddik has his own little space. And a person will go out to work. Tzaddikim, the Kabbal's tzaddikim go out to receive the reward for all their work in this world. But Misha Heshem, somebody who completed his avodah until he passed away out of his nighttime. The tzaddik was true to his tzidkis until the very end of his life, and this is what is going to happen. Rabbi Lazar, he once found this person working for the government. His job was to capture thieves. How do you know who's a thief? We said that a compared to animals, they hide during the day. You can't find them. And only at night they come out, they curl around. So how in the world do you know who's a ganav, who's not? He brought another pasuk. He gave this other pasuk where it says, that they ambush from the dark, like a lion. His dwelling place. They're very difficult to find. Maybe you're finding innocent people, and you're not catching the Rishayim. What should I do? I'm under the Malka. The king rules that I have to do this. Let me teach you the telltale signs of you should know who a Ganav, who's not a Ganav. Go in the 4th hour, open your store. That's breakfast time. 4th hour, we live in that most people eat. I mean, the eat, the 6th hour, but most people eat the 4th hour, which is 9 o'clock in the morning, 9 to 10. And you see a person that goes, he's drinking wine. The Kanoki Koshbi held a cup in his hand coming down him. He's trembling. He's dozing off because he was up at night. He was working at night. Then you have to look at the possibilities. Why is he so tired? 9 o'clock in the morning. That's when you have most energy. Find out about him. Inquire as follows. If he's a Talmud Chacham, the word Tzimmer Rabbanan is a Talmud Chacham, somebody who's young and sharp. An older Talmud Chacham is called the Rabban, Hub the Rabban. A younger one is called Tzurban Rabban, young and full of energy, and he's very sharp. Each Rabban, if it's Rabban, when Naim falls asleep, Agdun make Kodim Legis, he probably will attribute the fact he woke up early morning to learn for davening. If he's a worker, maybe he woke up early to get ready for work. So if he's a worker, then probably he's not a ganef. When does he have time to be ganef? The ability to Belila, if he's a night shift worker, then he was doing when he was melt. How come he didn't hear noise banging over there? Because maybe he was melting there like gold or other things. The Eli, if he doesn't have one of these three things, doesn't then Ganbahu, why else would he up at night? He must be a ganef. But if it's tough sin, then you can go ahead and you apprehend him. The king found out that Belazar Shim was such a wise person. Amri, the famous word, they said, Karyan of the Iglata, the one who read the letter, let him be the shliach, let him be the one to carry it out and execute what he wrote over there. So they hired him. That became Rabbi Belazar of Shimon. Imagine his job was to be a police detective. And catch him. Didn't go him. As soon as Rabbi Belazar of Shimon cut off his gun, he was catching it on. But also, and he went. Shalach Rabbi Shimon Karcha. Rabbi Shimon Karcha sent him. Remember, Mikvah Chayes Rashi says who Rabbi Shimon Karcha? Don't know. This is not just row. It must probably the Jew, what's called the pond. Well, this would have been under this is after Churbeis Hamikdash, this is the generation after Rabbi Akiva. Talking about the first century after the Churbeis Hamikdash. It would have been Roman, whoever it was, or would have been the what's it called? What's called the person that represents the Roman government who runs the whole. There's a name for it. Prefect. Not prefect. Also the P. I forgot what it's called. No, not prefect. That's what they did, but I forgot what it's called. Anyway, Rabbi Shimon Karcha. Rashi says Shimon Karcha was Rabbi Akiva's son. Taish says Chash V'Sholom. Karcha means boldly. You think they would call Rabbi Yeshua the son of the boldy? Rabbi Akiva? It doesn't make sense. It says it was a time of Shimon Karcha. Anyway, but this is Rabbi Akiva's son's time because it's Rabbi Shimon Yochai's what do you call it? Son. Chaim is ben Yain. He called him, you vinegar, the son of wine. That was Rosh ben Tzadi. Admon said, how do you go? Or so you're handing over Eden to be killed, executed. Shalach said back, I'm getting rid of the weeds and the thorns from the vineyard. Shalach Yobed Balakerem Yichal Kaitzes. That's your cheshbon. Let the Abish should get rid of the to get rid of all the thorns. One day, talk about who Kaivis, he met this launderer, Kari, and the launderer had a chutzpah to turn around to Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon, and they called him Chaimitz ben Yayin. You vinegar, the son of wine. Amar, so he said, with the chutz of kulahai, this is an expression you find no one times in the Gemara. He had the chutzpah, Shmam no Rishiyah, he must be a Russia. By Rabbi Shlomo, the similar to Sefter by Rabbi Akiva, he said Shmam and a Mamzer, because Mamzer have chutzpah. Amaleu, Tavsu, capture, he must be a bad guy. Tavsu, and when they capture somebody, they execute them. The boss of the Noch Daita, and after Rabbi Elazar sort of calmed down, took him a while, obviously. He went to redeem him. He felt that he did the wrong thing because he didn't catch him again or anything else. He just was angry because he abused him. Well, too late because he was already hanged. He was already executed. He said he gave himself a chama. Shame the people to shame. The guy would have kept his mouth shut. He would do well. Zakfu, what they did was they hanged him. Come to say skifa, he stood underneath the person who was hanging, the kabach, and he cried. Our guess is Amru Lei Rabbi. So people said to him, Rabbi Elazar, don't feel bad. He and the son were boil night on Yom Kippurim. So he deserved it anyway, even though it wasn't for the punishment that you had. Taisus in a few places asks. The Gemara said we had in Ksubis and we had in Saita. The Gemara said that Din Dala misses Leibaklu, that the slave still gets retribution. Well, the night of Manasseh gets skila, and he was hanged. That's chenek. So Rashi says, "Kol haniskol in nitlin." So this is the nitlin part. In other words, the nitlin is part of the punishment of skila, according to Rashi. Tosis doesn't answer that because clearly Tosis holds that the nitlin is not part of the skila. Finished as soon as he killed him. The nitlin is so everyone else should see. Well, this is what happens in Menu Yilmadu, that you shouldn't do the behavior. So Tosis where the nitlin fits into. But Tosis answers. What happened here was the din of Naida Marasa, you get skila, which is a girl, and Marasa only while she's a psul. The son committed Aveda first, and then he got his father to join him. So when he was involved, she was already a bu'ula. The bu'ula, the punishment is chenek. Interesting. But what's very interesting is Rashi in Gemara Brachas has a different Gershon now Gemara. Even though the people on the side try to fix up Rashi, they don't even bring that it's actually machlekes. Rashi says on maloi. The guy who was hanged was still alive, and the guy who was hanged was Moida, and he said to Rabbi Lazar, "Don't feel bad, I deserve it." And based on this, the Bach has there's a whole discussion. And Simon Yud Zayin Evidence is the longest Simon. That's all the Agunas and is all Simon Yud Zayin. So there's a discussion. If you saw somebody being hanged, can you go and you didn't hang around? Pun. You didn't stay around to see whether the guy actually died. Can you go be made? Yeah, can you go made that the woman died? Actually, the man is dead and she's a free woman or not. So the Bach says, and we say that you can't unless you saw. The Bach says that you see clearly from the Gemara, there's two kinds of hangings. There's the Bezin hangings and there's the Goyish government's hangings. The Goyish government, he said, he's to hang by the hands. So therefore, the guy can still be alive hours later. Our hanging, or whatever his other people's hanging, was around the neck, a noose around the neck, and there the neck snaps. When you pull the chair away, whatever it is, the neck snaps. You break, you die very shortly afterwards. So the Bach wants to say, the Harai in this Gemara here, oh Maulai, that the guy spoke and he said, so he was still alive. Must be that he's to hang by hands. So and that's why you cannot, and that's why the Gemara said you cannot get aid if somebody was hanged because if you saw the government, because the guy was alive. But if you saw them with a noose around the neck, you could go. The Taz, the son-in-law, vehemently argues with the Bach, and because his gisa was like our gisa, Amrullah. And they said, because all hangings were the same.
There are there's a circumstance. Marshal, someone fell to the Yamagod. So
that's my shame himself as a whole story because you can't say. But here's different. Here you saw them you saw Ma'isa Adam. You saw them putting a noose around his neck. And the question is, you didn't see the guy die. Can you go and give aid as the guy's dead? Anyway, the Gemara continues. Interesting argument. Okay. Now this is going to be the first operation in history. He was a very heavy person, as we'll soon think about it. He placed his hand on his stomach. Right? Yeah. He put his hand on his thing and said, "Oh, my stomach is really happy. I did the wrong thing." In this case, I didn't even know that he did anything wrong. And yet I was turned out to be right. Surely with the things I did right, I did the right thing, so I didn't do anything wrong. I'm sure that we did no Aveda, so there won't be. When I'll die, he says, the worms will not come to the cave. And we'll see the story later what happened with it. I feel like, nevertheless, let me ask you that he still didn't feel comfortable because he killed this person. Ashkua Sama de Shena. So they gave him anesthetic. The Ailula base of the Shisha, and he organizes. They brought him into this house of marble, so there's no, it was all sterilized. There was nothing else in that room. Everything clean. The Karoli they opened his stomach. They took out rows and rows of fats. This is the first liposuction, but also this is the first operation with putting it with an anesthetic and sterilized and everything else. It took me 2,000 years ago almost. They placed the fats in the sun. The Tammuz Vav was the hottest time of the year. It didn't go foul. Cold tabernacle. When I asked back, what's the big deal? Fats on its own without any meat doesn't what is it called? Go off. I don't know. Have you tried that? Cold tabernacle. Shuraika sumke masech. You're right. Fats on its own, but usually there's always a few pieces of meat that are stuck onto it, and that goes off. But here nothing happened. When they stitched him up and he came back, he said, even my flesh also rests assured. Also had a similar job. This similar story, Liyade, or there probably Leo. Interesting, Leo, who did not come to Rabbi Loza but Abshimon. It wasn't Rabbi Loza who came to him. But he did come. You do the same, had the same job. Imagine these Rabbanim had a job to catch. Anyway, Malay, my Avid, what should I do? So this is what the king wants. Malay, and even though he's bringing people to be killed, since this was the law of the land, we'll have a taste as I did. What happened? But a guy who was accused of murder, and he went to the house to try to hide, and there's a whole discussion. Was he allowed to give him up? Avuch Orek Asa, your father fled to Asya. At Arek Lulukaya. You should flee. You're scared of the government, flee. Now, no one knows exactly, as far as I know, when in the world Rabbi Yossi fled to Asya. The only story we have of Rabbi Yossi is the story about the Lag Baimu coming up, where Rabbi Yehuda came at Rosh Hashanah, he spoke for the Roman government. He was sentenced to death. And Rabbi Yossi was banned to Tzipori. Not Asya, he didn't flee. The government sent him there. And yeah, when they stood together, they were so heavy. Have a aisle bikra the Torah, but now you can have two animals, two cows walking right underneath their stomachs. They'll have an agavu, and it wouldn't even touch those of them. They had bear bellies, but massive bear bellies. This woman accused her, this wealthy aristocrat accused them. You killed her, not yours, because how in the world can you have relations with your wife? They said to her, you should know that our wives are even heavier than we are. No, so she said, Kolshkein is even worse. They said, depending on the slow way Rashi takes it literally, that the person, his male member, is according to the size of that person. Others say it's talking about passion. And you had more in Sukkah, the end of Sukkah, the beginning of the noons, the greater the tzaddik, the greater the Yetzer Hara. You're in love, everything can work out. Like Palti Ben Layish, and he said that they slept with a sword on the bed, between him and because David Melech married Michal. He said when you love, you can master anything. Why Michal even deal with her? Said, what kind of lame discussion is this? You shouldn't deal with a fool and talk their language. The reason why they got involved is you cast aspersions on their children. Their mom's tak. The Gemara says here, this is Taisa and Rashi take it literally, and the other Rishonim learn differently. And for the moment, I cannot remember what the other Rishonim learn. I'll tell you tomorrow. His male member of Ishmael, but Rabbi Yossi is kechem is the size of a canteen, bas teisha kabin, of 9 kabin, big, massive. Rabbi Yechanan is kechem is bas chamisha kabin, 5 kabin. Amla bas shloisha kabin, whatever these sizes are. Papa Gufe and a Papa Self, Kidekuri the Harfanoi, like these baskets that they use over there, that size. And Taisa says, what's going on here? Well, what kind of discussions are having over here? So Taisa says it was only there so that nobody should cast aspersions on these people that are the children of Mamzeh. Rabbi Yechanan, we'll just finish here. Rabbi Yechanan said, I was left, I'm from the last remnants of the handsome people of Yerushalayim. If you want to see how handsome Rabbi was, nicely cost the kashba and beisalki. Bring a silver cup, just came out of the smithy. But the mali parti the room and some fill it up with red pomegranate seeds. The nedla kul the verde some put a crown of these red roses around the rim. The noisy beshishul place out there in the sun between the sun and the shade. And ahuri, and that reflection and that shine, that ray is main shuf Rabbi Yechanan. It's only similar to the handsomeness of Rabbi Yechanan. Saying about it's not so. But shufri that Rav Kana came shufri Rav Avu. Rav Kana was as handsome as Rav Avu. Shufri Rav Avu came shufri the Yaakovinu. Rav Avu was as handsome as Yaakov Avinu. And shufri the Yaakovinu meant shufri the Adonishon, and he was as handsome as Adonishon. And Adonishon was Yigi a cup of Sig cup of. So surely, he was a handsome person. Rabbi Yechanan, we don't mention Rabbi Yechanan wrong. He did not have a beard. He couldn't grow a beard. Now it's very interesting. First of all, you see a beard makes you look handsome. But apart from that, we had the Gemara Tainus that Rabbi Yechanan had very, very long eyebrows and he had a fork. Must be, look at why he had so long eyebrows, because he couldn't grow a beard. This is my own theory. He decided to grow a beard from his eyebrows. So let the hair grow. He wouldn't touch his hair. So that's to make up.
He was considered the most.
Pella is Rashi and Brachas of Yutes, if I remember correctly. Rashi and Brachas of Yutes had a whole different guess now Gemara, and he said Rabbi Yechanan will sit tomorrow. Rabbi Yechanan sat by the tefillah. He said be handsome. So Rashi there says that Rabbi Vu's me'ein shufred Rabbi Yechanan. His guess was just the opposite. That it was Gemara Raya. That Rabbi Yechanan was the most handsome because Rabbi Abu was like Rabbi Yechanan, Rabbi Yechanan was like Rabbi Yaakov, and Yaakov was like Adam Rishon. So that means according to Rashi, Rabbi Yechanan did have a beard. Rabbi Yechanan had a beard as well. We'll continue in Mitzvah tomorrow.